Hello, YouTube. It's Mahadeva, OG Thunder Wizard. All right, so hopefully I am live. It looks like I am. Okay, so I'm going to continue some discussions I've been talking about recently. And today the title, because you got to pick a title. Title is the 10 Steps to Perfect Health and Wealth. Is perfect happiness possible in 3D reality? I don't know that I would call these 10 steps. They're 10 truths. So before we get into that, here's what I've learned through my experience in life. And by the way, I've overcome things that I believe would kill most people. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, that's just a fact. I continue to overcome and have overcome things that have killed a lot of people. So, what I have learned through my experience is that if you do not have a proper assumption about who you are and who the universe is and what that interaction is, if you do not have a proper understanding about that, you will fail miserably. At best, you will be inconsistent and confused. And a lot of people, again, just don't have basic understanding about how the universe works. If you have a correct assumption about that, then you can know what to do. Because if you don't know the terrain that you're at, you don't know what strategy. So I'm going to be giving you a strategy that works. If you're on here hoping that I'm going to give you the one magic phrase or the one magic pill, I can't do that. Unfortunately, you are going to have to apply the strategy to life in order for this to work. So I am here to tell you that fulfillment on the deepest level is not only possible, it is the entire reason for being here. I'm here to tell you that happiness at the deepest level is not only possible, it's why you came here. Wealth, being prosperous, having all of the money, the resources that you need in your perfect life is not only possible, it is what you came here to do. In other words, it is inevitable if you follow the correct strategy. It's also inevitable if you follow the incorrect strategy, you will get the opposite. Health, physical health, having complete, total, physical, abundant health is not only possible, it is inevitable if you follow the proper strategy. But in order to follow the proper strategy, you must first have the proper knowledge. So when I use the word assumption, assumption is the bottom line belief that you choose to believe. It's not how you feel. So the first thing I need you to do is to get rid of trying to feel anything. You can be watching this and you can be homicidally full of rage. You can be suicidal. You can be in absolute, utter, complete despair and horror and fear. Don't worry about that. Your feelings don't, unlike the law of attraction, which is an incomplete, if not outright false teaching. Unlike the law of attraction, your feelings do not determine your reality. Your thoughts do not determine your reality. So don't try and get perfect feelings and don't try and get perfect thoughts. It's a waste of time. There's nothing wrong with being happy and having a peaceful mind. If you want that, that will be the inevitable outcome of following this strategy. But to start off, you don't need that. So stop trying. That's a way to keep you trapped. Well, you don't have perfect feelings. Well, you don't have perfect this. I wish I could get into some details, but it really destroys everything when you try and do that. So stop trying to be perfect. That's not what we're here to do. Experiencing perfect happiness doesn't mean you're perfect. Experience perfect health doesn't mean you're perfect or you do live perfectly. Having perfect abundance and wealth doesn't mean anything about you being perfect. Okay? It is the inevitable result of following the strategy. But in order to follow the strategy, you must have the assumption. So an assumption is something you choose to believe, not something that you feel or that you understand. It is something that you choose to believe. This is why Christianity is so successful as a religion. Because it starts off telling you what the problem is. And if you have a miserable life, somebody comes along and says, life is miserable, that's because you are disconnected from God. You go, oh yeah, my life is miserable. And then they say, if you choose to believe that Jesus died on the cross for your sins, you will be saved. It doesn't say if you feel it, if you believe it. It says if you choose to believe it. And that's the whole, that's it. Once you've done that, according to Christianity, you've now achieved salvation. Let me be clear, I'm not a Christian. I think Christianity is incredibly toxic. But that's how you get into the religion. You start with an assumption. That's what an assumption is. I assume that this chair is going to hold me up, so I sit down in it. I assume that the law of gravity works, so I do not step off a cliff. It starts with an assumption. So you start with the correct assumptions. Then you can apply the strategy. Then you can get the inevitable result. So let's talk about that. So the 10 steps, which is really, I don't know if they're steps, as more as truths. The 10 truths to perfect health and wealth. Is perfect happiness possible in three-dimensional reality? So let's take a look at that. So here's my hastily drawn up list here. So number 1, the first assumption you need to address is that your soul is God. All right? If you don't start from there, everything else won't work. Because in my experience, again, if you have proper understanding, you will take proper action. And if you do not have proper understanding, then you will be forced to have your feelings and your motivations and your beliefs to guide you, and they will fail you. Your feelings, your motivations, your beliefs, your rationality, your understanding, those things will fail you. Guaranteed. Every single time they will fail you at some point. And it is going to be in that area that people fail. When they feel good, when they feel motivated, they naturally do what is necessary to achieve happiness in life. But then what happens is, as you go towards what you want, which we'll talk about in a little bit, you will lose confidence, you will become confused, you will be frightened, you will not understand, and then people stop. It's amazing. I will tell people over and over, I will tell them ad nauseum that, here are things that you must do. You must do these things. And they'll say, I don't feel like it. I'm afraid. And I say, that doesn't matter. But time and time again, I'm human too, it happens to me, they get uncomfortable and then they act based on their feelings, not based on a strategy. So you must always act based on the strategy. The strategy will never fail you. I can prove it to you in my life. And again, being in the position that I am, I talk to people who fail. So I know what the recipe for failure is. And there are people who have accomplished things I can't even begin to comprehend. I would love to give some examples, but I don't want to, share people's lives. But I've talked to a few people this week who I am in awe of what they've accomplished. They've accomplished it because they intuitively knew what the strategy was. So I can promise you the strategy will always pay off, but you might not always feel good. You might not always feel happy. You may be homicidal. You might be suicidal. Just accept that those things will happen as you're going towards perfection. Just accept it. My ancestors had the perfect way of putting it. They said, those who die in battle go to Valhalla. It's so simple. You accept that you are going to go into battle and that you may lose your life. When you go into battle, you have to be prepared to die or you will die. If you don't fight with complete abandon and take risks that might kill you, get you killed, you will be killed by the enemy, guaranteed. So those who die in battle go to Valhalla. It doesn't mean those who die physically from violence go to enlightenment. Very likely you will come back as a result of dying in physical violence. It means that those who live life without fear or who take fearless action and are willing to die for what they want, they always achieve it. That's what that means. Those who die in battle go to Valhalla. So, what is the first truth or the first step we've got here? Nope, that's not it. Your soul is God. All right, I got off track. Your soul is God. You don't have to feel it. You don't have to believe it. Trust me, you don't. You can feel like the exact opposite. That's perfectly fine. You can believe in your head the opposite. Perfectly fine. It's amazing how true this is. I may have shared this, I'm sure I did in a previous video, but a week ago, I was in horrific pain. There was this thing that was happening, and it's been happening for a while, where I go surfing, and then a few hours later, I'll find that there's just a lot of pain in my wrist. I put any weight on my, not on my wrist, but on my hand, any weight on my hand at all, it's just super painful. And I just assumed that was the result of a lot of physical activity and paddling for 2 hours. And I thought, oh, well, I'm straining the muscles or the tendons. But every now and then it would become really debilitating, where the pain would be so bad I couldn't surf for a while. I just assumed that was something I had to deal with. It happened again recently, and the pain was really bad, and I wanted to go surfing again, and I couldn't. Because the getting up off the surfboard, I would have to bend my fingers and my hands to push up off the surfboard, and it was so painful I couldn't do it. So I started trying to figure out, first I came to the conclusion that was unacceptable, because I followed my own advice. And if I would say, okay, what would I say if I came to myself and said this? I would say, well, what is it that you want most? I want to surf. That's the most important thing in my life. Well, then if that's what you want, since you're God, you have to have that. If you didn't want it, you wouldn't be destined to have it, right? Yeah, that makes sense. So how is it that you've got some pain in there that's stopping you from doing it? You're 57 years old, but there are people 75, 80 that surf every day. How is it they can do it and you're not able to? Something's not making sense. So I said, okay, I'm going to figure out what is wrong, and I'm going to determine that I'm going to find out what physical exercise. There's going to be some stretching, or maybe I can go to the gym and do some work on my hands. And then the more I thought about it, I said, wait a minute, I'm not in pain that way. I mean, I can go to the gym and pull things. I can lift weights, and I don't have pain. It's only when I do that one movement to push up off my surfboard. And I said, there's literally nothing I'm doing physically to cause that. So I knew that it was psychosomatic. If you're not familiar with it, go check out a thing called TMS, tension myositis syndrome. TMS, tension myositis syndrome. Go check it out. I was suffering from tension myositis syndrome. Short answer, it was psychosomatic. Tension myositis syndrome is, and it could be anything. It could be physical pain. It could be a disease. It could be, inability to eat certain foods. It's amazing what the brain will do. In fact, people with multiple personalities prove it. There are people with multiple personalities. One personality will have diabetes, and you can do a blood test and you'll see that person has diabetes, and they will need to have insulin to survive. And then they switch personalities and they no longer have it. They'll switch personalities. Their eye colors will change. One person can't eat, gluten, and then another personality will be able to. It's the same physical body. So the majority of our illnesses are psychosomatic. Sorry to tell you, but they are. We can treat the symptoms or we can treat the root. And so the root is when you are in internal conflict on an unconscious level. When your soul wants one thing and you are doing something different in order to survive, it causes conflict. So the conflict within me was that I was moving towards upgrading my life, which included surfing, to a next level that I'd never experienced before. And I had unconscious resistance because I was taught by my mother. My mother energetically and psychologically programmed me to feel unworthy of having health, happiness, wealth. So every time that I get to that place and I go beyond my current programming, very often I will experience some kind of TMS, some kind of physical pain. And that's how I know. Now, this had popped up in a way I wasn't ready for. So I thought there was something physically wrong with me. And let me be clear, the pain is real. It's not that there isn't pain, but there's nothing structurally wrong. There was nothing structurally wrong with my hand. My brain was shutting off blood flow to the nerves in my hand, which is why it didn't matter. I mean, I could do all kinds of stuff with my tendons and my muscles, but it was just if I twisted it or a certain way, the pain would be unbearable. And once I became aware, oh my God, I don't feel worthy of this life change that's happening for me. And this would really be another step up in my fantasy life. Once I became aware I was blocking it, then I felt the pain, the emotional pain. The emotional pain of feeling like I was a bad boy. The guilt of going beyond what I was programmed. Then once I got conscious of the emotional pain, the physical pain disappeared. And the next day I went surfing and I was fine. In fact, I had some of the best surfing of my life. And it just blew my mind. Now, what's important for you to know is that I did not believe. Even though I had a suspicion it was TMS, I didn't believe it was true, and I didn't feel that it was true. I just assumed it. I said to myself, I don't feel it. I really feel like something is physically wrong. I really feel like I'm damaged for life. I really believe that, but I'm going to assume that I'm okay. And I'm going to focus on these feelings, and I'm going to feel them, and I'm going to work through them with the assumption that I'll be okay. Even though if you were to ask me, I'm pretty sure nothing's going to happen. I'll still be in pain tomorrow. And to my utter surprise, the next day, the pain was gone. And so it's really important you understand that you don't have to believe it. You don't have to feel it. You just have to assume it and then take action. So assumptions drive your actions. You may feel like you can fly, but when you stand on the edge of the cliff and you watch the birds flying and you think, you know what, if I jump, I'll be able to fly. Your assumption says, actually, no, there's this thing called gravity, and if you step off the cliff, you'll actually fall to your death. So your feelings say one thing, but your assumption dictates your actions. So you start with the assumption. The people whose lives are based on taking actions on their feelings, you will always fail. If you take actions based on your feelings and your beliefs, you will fail every time. At some point, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. But if you find the proper and accurate assumption about life, and you adopt that assumption and you take action based on that assumption, regardless of what you think, believe, or feel, it will always work for you. You may go through a lot of emotional discord and trauma, but you will succeed every time. So I'm giving you these things and I'm trying to pound into your head to, if you accept my assumptions and take actions on them, you will see the results that you want. You might not feel good. You might be confused, and you might be unhappy and homicidal and suicidal. You might have a bunch of messed up feelings. But what's more important to you? Because either way, you're going to be challenged in life. So since, like my ancestors said, you're going to have to fight to the death anyway. So you might as well just do it. And then you'll achieve Valhalla. All right, so let's keep going. So number one, your soul is God. That means, what is God? God is the creator of the universe. God is the creator of the universe. God is omniscient. God is all powerful. God is beyond time and space. Everything in the universe was created to serve God, to please God. So your soul is God. That's important to know because your brain isn't God, your emotions aren't God, your beliefs aren't God, your physical body isn't God. Your soul is God. And your soul is your ultimate identity. You may not always operate from your soul identity. You may operate from your brain, from your programming, from your lower self, your psyche, all that stuff. Most of us do. And this is part of the dynamic interchange of life, is to find your soul and operate 100% ideally from your soul. When you can do that, you will have achieved enlightenment. Your soul is God. That means everything you think about God being, perfect and almighty and all that. So that's the first assumption. You don't have to feel that way. You don't even have to believe it, and you don't have to understand it. In fact, it's better if you try not to understand it. Just accept it. So what happens? Everything has to give God what he wants. Everything. It's just the way the universe is. Accept that assumption before you do anything else. You don't accept that assumption, there's a good chance you'll fail. Because at some point, if you don't accept the assumption that you are almighty, infinite God, then when things get difficult, you will most likely backtrack and act opposite your best interests. That's the way life is built. Life is built that way. There's only two things that life is about. And it's not easy, but it is very simple. Number one, you came here for one reason only, and that was to give your soul the thing that gives it the greatest joy. To give it a physical experience that gives your soul ultimate, complete, absolute, blissful, orgasmic joy. If that for you is, sitting in a loincloth in the desert or in the jungle with a begging bowl and meditating, if that's what it does for you, then that's your soul desire. If it's like me, living somewhere where you have empty, beautiful, semi-tropical beaches with the beach breaks that you can surf every day, water warm enough to go surfing all year long, then that is the thing that your soul wants. Yours is different. You want to be a ballerina, you want to be president of the world, you want to, I don't know. I mean, have a sanctuary for lost kittens and puppies. Doesn't matter. Whatever the hell it is that gives you selfishly orgasmic bliss, that's the reason you came. The other reason that you came, there's two. The second one is you must overcome all of the karmic resistance. Your soul has has fun overcoming karmic challenges. We're going to talk about that. Those are the two reasons that you came here. But those two reasons don't have any meaning if you don't adopt the first assumption, which is that your soul is God. All right? Don't believe it, don't feel it, don't understand it. Just accept it. Your soul is God. Therefore, you must be given everything your soul wants. Your soul must be given everything it wants. When it commands, the entire universe gives it everything it wants. If you're saying, yeah, but I do that all the time and the universe isn't giving me everything I want, well, that's because you're not operating from your soul. You're operating from your brain, from your psyche, from your programming. If you operate from your soul, I've proved it. I've proven it. You get it. You get the impossible. I proved it to myself. If I were to take myself to the doctor with this pain that's no longer there, if they were to find anything, which they probably wouldn't, but if they were to find, oh yeah, you've got the sheath underneath your hand is swollen, it's inflamed. Oh yeah, you've got such and such itis. Oh yeah, that's tough. A lot of people, blah blah blah. You know, there would have been a reason for me to never be able to do that again. But God, my soul, came here to surf. So if my soul says, I need a perfect body to surf, guess what? That's what I get. Because I accept that. That's a fact. My soul is God and my soul wants to surf. Therefore, anything that gets in the way of that is a karmic block that I get to overcome. And my soul enjoys that. It enjoys the challenge of overcoming that obstacle. All right, so that's number one. Your soul is God. Number two, I already said this. Everything must obey God. I said that already. Number three, I said too. Your soul incarnates to have fun. See, I already said that too. Number four, overcoming karma is fun for the soul. Again, I mean, my ancestors had it great. Those who die in battle go to Valhalla. Overcoming karma is fun for the soul. It's not fun for your brain. It's not fun for your psyche. It's not fun for your emotions. It's fun for the soul, but it's not fun for you. If you are operating from your soul, it'll be fun for you, even though it'll be challenging, and you will overcome. If you're operating from your brain, from your programming, from your emotions, and trust me, you're supposed to have your feelings. Don't think I'm telling you to stop having your feelings. I'm not. You're supposed to have your feelings. But if you let your feelings dictate your actions, you will fail every time. At some point, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. I've proven it to myself. I see it every time. There are people I've worked with. It doesn't matter how many times I tell them. No matter what, you can't take those actions based on those feelings. Take this action based on this assumption. That's the rule. They break that rule, they fail every time. And I've said this before and it sounds egotistical, but it's not because of anything that's amazing about me. It's just this is what I've seen. I've proven it to myself. Those people who work with me and follow my directions to the letter, every single time, if they continue following my directions, their life gets better. It doesn't mean they feel good all the time. In fact, sometimes they feel horrible. They'll lose relationships. They'll get divorced. They'll lose their job. They'll have all kinds of physical problems come up. All kinds of stuff can happen. And when they do, I say, when did I say that you weren't going to have challenges? I never said that. In fact, I told you you were going to have challenges. You remember? Follow my directions to the letter, you will succeed. I guarantee it. And that's, again, it's not coming from me. It's because I've proven it, the assumptions. Just accept the assumptions and take the appropriate action. That's all that matters. So, your soul incarnates to have fun. Overcoming karma is fun for the soul. So, next part, whoops, that's not it. Next part is 3D life is designed to resist and assist your soul. So before I go any further, actually, I didn't put that in the list, but I wish I had. Everything you do in life, I want you to listen. If there's one thing that you get out of this video, it's this phrase I'm going to tell you right now. So pause it, get a piece of paper, get your phone out, record this so that you can hear it over and over again. Okay, you ready? Everything in life is based on your desire and instinct to survive. Everything that you do in this life is based on your desire or instinct to survive. That means if you are somebody who continues to destroy your life, you're an alcoholic, you're a drug addict, you're a thief, you're a picket, you're somebody that always dates abusive men, you're always poor, you're always broke, you're always this, you're miserable all the time, you're possessed by demons, I don't care what it is. That is a result of one thing. Actions that you have taken out of an instinct to survive. Now, you might be incorrect. You might be taking actions that are fundamentally 100% opposed to your survival. But somewhere along the line, you got the feeling that if I do this, I'll survive. In fact, you may have correctly come to a conclusion, if I do this, I'll survive in a certain circumstance that no longer applies. This is psychological illness. This is psychological. This is all that psychology does. Psychology gets you to the place to become conscious of, oh, my mom taught me that if I was poor and a loser, then I'd be loved, and I need to be loved to survive. So I'm going to be a poor loser. That happens on an unconscious level, not on a conscious level. But so you keep taking actions like, I don't know why. And people go, I don't know why you keep sabotaging yourself. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to get. It's because on an unconscious level, you learned something to survive. Now, as a kid, so we got to go back to being an infant. When you're born as an infant, you're helpless. Your literal physical survival depends on your parents not only providing for you, but loving you. And it's kind of up for grabs. Which is a stronger instinct, to eat or to get love? It's a tough one. Little children, not children, infants, this is proven through science and through history. When infants are not loved, when they're not picked up, held, talked to, when they're not interacted with, they physically die. You can give them food, warmth, shelter, but if you do not interact with them and love them, they will physically die. So you, in order to survive, you seek to find strategies to get love from your parents. And this makes sense. If you're a caveman, baby, if you're a baby in caveman times, if your parents literally do not pick you up off of that rock, some giant saber-toothed tiger is going to come along and have you for lunch. So you physically need to be held. That's why, in a lot of indigenous cultures, the mom will have the child, strapped to the back or strapped to the front all day long while they're doing whatever. The baby is strapped to the parent, and the baby is feeling mom's heartbeat and hearing mom's breath, and mom is talking to the baby and in physical contact all the time. That baby's going to have an identity because it will be loved. So your first instinct is to be loved. Your second instinct is to have your physical needs met. So if you live in an abusive household and you survived infancy and you got just enough attention to not die, but not enough to feel loved, then your next instinct will be to preserve your physical life. And that will be done by trying to figure out what mommy and daddy want you to be in order for you to be accepted in that tribe. Again, caveman babies, once they get to be toddlers, they can walk around, and not mommy and daddy aren't going to pick you up every time a saber-toothed tiger comes into the cave, right? You're going to have to be accepted by that, because if they pick up and leave you and they walk faster than you, you will die. So you have to be accepted into the tribe. So what is it they want you to be? You will change yourself. You will tell yourself what you need to become in order to survive. Everybody does this. It's frustrating for me because I can see it in you. Not because I'm anything special, but because I've done so much work on myself, I can see myself in you. So I can tell from your comments. That's why I say don't just drop a comment. You're going to put a target on your forehead, and I'm going to see where your instincts are not serving you. And I'm going to tell you about it, and you're not going to like it. Now, if you have the guts to be able to listen and apply it, then it can help you. But, it's never pleasant to have that awareness, when you realize how vulnerable you are to other people's thoughts and opinions. So let's drop the whole idea that I don't need anybody to make me happy and I don't care what anybody thinks, because it's not true. Your survival depends on it. It doesn't work for you now because now you're an adult. But when you were 4 years old and 5 years old, you had to be what mommy and daddy wanted, or brother and sister. You had to be what they wanted. Otherwise, you wouldn't survive. So survival determines your actions. If you can understand where your true survival lies, you can then overcome the karma. So karma is nothing more than this: incorrect assumptions about what you need to be in order to be accepted. That's all that karma is, nothing else. Once, if you think that being rich and famous is going to make you acceptable to people, and you go out and do that, and then you find out that being rich and famous, like talk to Michael Jackson's ghost. He'll tell you he was the richest, most famous, successful person in the history of human beings. And he ended up dying on the most addictive drug in existence. He was addicted to the most powerful, addictive opiate ever created. It killed him. So it wasn't the fame, and it wasn't the success, and it wasn't the admiration. None of that kept him alive. He knows that now. He didn't know that then. So when you become aware of, oh my God, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And you have to live through the death. That's when dying in battle. You have to die to that. And then you have to realize that your soul is the one who you need to please, not other people. Not your parents, not God, not society, not anything else, not even all of the things in your brain. Now, when you go against your programming, which is your karma, when you go against it, you will suffer horrifically. You will have internal pain. You will have internal depression, anxiety. You may be suicidal. You may be homicidal. You will feel like a victim. That's why I have zero tolerance for victims. That's why I have zero tolerance for people who get off on thinking that they're woke because they're a QAnon follower. There's nothing about that serves you. And it shows your victim mentality, that you are still trying to get others to love you. You don't see that yet, but I see it. And that's why I have no sympathy for you, because if I have any sympathy for you, I'm not helping you. If you need to leave and go watch another channel, go right ahead. But I'm not gonna co-sign your misery. All right, so I'm kind of getting off the beaten track here. 3D life, number 5, is designed to resist and assist your soul. So this is the challenge. You're constantly being pulled in two directions. Your soul is constantly trying to tell you what is going to give you the greatest joy in life. And to the extent that you resist that, your soul will punish you. Physical pain is one of them. If you have physical pain, if you have illness, cancer, fill in the blanks, it's your soul punishing you. Your soul is like saying, hey, I got to get your attention here. You are not paying attention to me. I came here to surf beaches, not live in Idaho and be married to somebody that doesn't follow my lifestyle. That's what I did. I got married, moved to Idaho for 10 years. There's not a lot of surf in Idaho. Moved to Idaho for 10 years and became a house husband, tried to make her happy, which was me trying to please my mom because she was exactly like my mom. And thankfully, I got out of that. But towards the end of that, I was racked with pain. I couldn't move. I had so much tendonitis. I couldn't walk. I wouldn't have been able to pick up this mug of tea. It would have been too hard on my joints. I was in so much pain because my soul was furious at me. My soul was saying, we're not doing that. I will tear you to pieces to get your attention. And it finally got my attention. And then the pain disappeared. Once I went after what I knew I wanted. It was the most frightening thing I've ever done in my life. But now I'm physically free of pain. I mean, it was really bad. I was afraid to turn my neck. And I was 49 at the time. I was afraid to turn my neck because I was afraid if I turned my neck was going to go into spasm. I was afraid to bend over because if I bent over, my back was going to go into spasm. I mean, I was really messed up. And I just assumed that's what happens when people get to be 40 something. You know, here I am pushing 60 and I don't have any of that problem anymore. So you're being pushed in two directions. Your soul will push you in one direction and your karma, which is your training. So you have karma from this life as well as the past life. In the past life, you were burned at the stake for being a witch. In this life, you want to be a shaman, but every time that you start to do that, you become horrifically frightened. I mean, I went through the same thing. I had a past life where I was literally nailed to the door of a church and torn to pieces by the angry mob. So, you know, I really struggled with my shamanic calling. And I would go through a lot of trauma. Every time that I would teach, I would like go home and shake. I would be in so much trauma. So your karma, past life, in order to be loved, they were giving a very clear message. You better not be a priest or a shaman, or we will literally tear you to pieces. So that's a pretty strong karmic. If you want to be accepted by society, you can't do that. I was carrying that with me. Whatever my mom and my dad and my brother, you know, put into me and told me what I had to do in order to be survive. You know, I was supposed to be the scapegoat. It would be amazing. I mean, something would go wrong and I would always get blamed for it. And I just assumed it was always my fault, even though I didn't know why. I said that to somebody once. I was telling I think my girlfriend's grandmother or something back when I was 17. And I said, yeah, my mom said thus and such and she's right. It's my fault. And the lady said, how is it your fault? I'm not sure what you did. And I went, I don't know what I did, but I know it was my fault. So you're programmed. In order for me to survive in my family, I had to be the scapegoat. It always had to be my fault. And that's because, again, our actions are driven by a desire to survive. So drop all of the garbage. Drop all of the trying to be pure, trying to be spiritual, trying to be tough, all the stuff that people go after. You know, in spirituality, people drop the most ridiculous nonsense about spirituality. Love and light, and I just want to be part, and I'm here to serve the world, and I'm here to be a beacon of light to the world, stop wasting your time with that nonsense. You're not here for any of that. You're here to have fun. That's it. It's the only reason you're here. And as you go after being towards your fun, your karma is going to pull you in the other direction. Always. That's never going to stop. The more that you go after your soul, the less that your karma will pull on you, but it will never go away. So just accept that. That is always going to be there. So life is designed to resist and assist your soul. Why is that? Go back up to number 4. Overcoming karma is fun for the soul. So whenever you complain about how hard it is in life to get what I want, just realize that's part of the design. Your soul, which is God, designed that. People ask, why would God make life so... God really loved us. Well, because your soul needs that. It's a video game. It needs the challenge. It needs to overcome the challenge and remember that it is in fact God. Your soul wants to forget and then remember. And the video game is your soul remembering. That's right. I created this. That's right. This is fun. Now, and then you get to the point where you start creating your own reality. The soul wants to get to that point. It's mastered the video game to such an extent. That's why there's so many video games where you're creating worlds. Why do you think there's so many video games about that? It's because that's what your soul wants to do. When you overcome enough of the karma and you have achieved enough of your soul desire, then you start to be able to do what I've found myself doing many times, which is I go, let me see, what is it that I want? And then I'll go into what I think I can do. And then I stop myself and I go, wait, no. Now, if I had everything, I do this to myself all the time. I will say, if I had infinite amounts of money and if I could do anything I wanted, what would I do? And I will usually come up with something that sounds completely implausible and impossible. And that's why I tell you guys to go into Fantasyland. I do it every day. I go into Fantasyland and I go, I know I can't do this, but if I could, I would do this. And then I fully invest in it. I flesh it out. And then I go, well, my soul is God, so that must be exactly what I'm supposed to have. And even though I don't know how I'm going to get it, I go, that must be what so that's what I'm going to have. Since that's what I want and I'm supposed to have everything I want, that's what I'm going to have. I don't know how yet, but I will. And every single time it happens, every time, without failure. Sometimes I don't know what I want. That's really the only problem. I don't know what I want sometimes. All right, so that's number 5, which is 3D life is designed to simultaneously resist and assist your soul. You must just burn that into your awareness. That's an assumption. So stop looking for when the time will come where you never have to work for your reality. That's never going to happen. Stop trying to make that happen. Stop trying to... This is the problem with most teachings about enlightenment. Most teachings about enlightenment are based to appeal to your narcissism and your ego. And so people will say, if you achieve this, when you achieve enlightenment, you don't have any problems. You're in bliss all of the time, and it's never happened. I've never met one person that's ever happened to, not one. A lot of people have achieved a lot of spiritual powers and have powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men, but never have I seen anybody who's been completely at bliss all the time with zero problems ever. Never. Doesn't happen. Because if you did, you'd stop being human, because that's part of the fun. Your soul came down here to constantly work against those obstacles. All right, so let's move up to number 6 now. Number 6, in order to become conscious, you must face the challenge. So stop trying to ask me, I mean, you're going to anyway, because everybody does. I did too. How can I get over my fear? How can I get over this? Well, how can I said, who said you were supposed to get over that? I never said you were supposed to get over your fear. When did I tell you that? I never said that. I never will. You're supposed to have your fear and be conscious of it and take contrary action. You're supposed to have all the fear, but you take action based on what you know your soul wants. Not about what you feel, not about what you understand, not about what you believe, but about what your soul has told you it wants. Now, your soul will tell you, especially if you go and look for my book or get my videos on how to achieve your perfect career, you'll know what your soul wants. But once your soul tells you what it wants, then what's going to happen, there's going to be a brief moment. You're going to have a brief moment of, usually, maybe this doesn't happen every time, but I think pretty much every time you're going to have a brief moment of epiphany where you feel this joy overcome you because you've allowed yourself to have the fantasy. I'm thinking about one right now, and my whole body, that's my fantasy. I know that's where I belong. That's what I want. But the moment that feeling, depending on how much karma you have that you've brought with you, that feeling will disappear and will be replaced with, yeah, but I can't do that. Yeah, but that's too expensive. But that can never happen. But I don't deserve that. And then you'll forget. And then you'll call me the next day and you'll say, and you'll come up with yeah, I was going to do that thing where I became king of the universe, but now I think I'm just going to be, mailman of the universe. And then you'll tell me and try to convince me why that's really what you want. And half the time I'll go, okay, if that's what you really want, go after it. And then we find out, a week or a month later that wasn't what you wanted at all, that you actually really wanted the first thing that you told me you wanted. And now you realize that, and I go, okay, so let's do that. Let's keep doing that thing that you first told me you wanted to do. It's going to go. It's not like you're going to have the awareness and the epiphany, and then it will always be clear and happy sailing. People ask me all this all the time. Well, if it's my soul desire, then why isn't it easy? Because you're supposed to work for it. You're supposed to overcome the challenge. Your soul wants to do that. All right, so in order to become conscious, you must face the challenge. So you become aware of what it is that you want. You want to surf perfect waves in a semi-tropical environment, and you don't want to have to work for a living, and you want this kind of a house, and blah, blah, blah. And then you get that. Then you start working towards that, just like with me. Then you're going to have to become conscious. When you go after what you want, what'll happen is all of your negative programming will pop up. Something will happen. For me, I don't have any people in my life. I don't have anything else. So my body, I had pain in my body. For some of you, it'll be your relationship will start falling apart. Your husband or your wife will become a pain in the ass. Your job will become unbearable. You'll end up, getting into a car accident and having a big amount of debt to pay off a debt. Something will happen that will seemingly block you from going after what you've just decided you want. Physical health. If somebody asked me a while back and said, it was a great question, was why I keep repeating it. Said, is it okay for me to, or is it possible for me to have, we were talking about something like this, about living your perfect fantasy. Is it possible for me to achieve ascension even though I have chronic pain? My response was, why do you have chronic pain? Because the assumption was the chronic pain isn't going to go away. So can I, still be in pain? It's like, there's something's up. You're in chronic pain. That means that you're in conflict. You're in conflict with yourself, and it's expressing itself in your physical body. So as you go after it, the first symptom might be more physical pain. Just by thinking about it, the resistance will kick in. The internal programming of, if I don't do this, I won't be loved. I have to please my parents or God or the universe or something, or, my spouse. And if I don't do that, and then you might have more physical pain. But the physical pain is the conflict is brewing. You're becoming conscious. So the more you seek to become conscious, the more initially the problems will arise. But then, when you do achieve consciousness of it, just like I did when I became aware that I was afraid to go move into that house up the coast at that perfect beach because it was my fantasy, because I was still trying to please my mom, who said, you can't have everything you want, and you're a bad boy, you don't deserve it. Now, I do deserve it. So in my unconscious, even though my mom is dead, my unconscious was killing my mom. I had to die to that. To a deeper level, and then the pain disappeared. So you have to become conscious of and face the conflict. Don't stop looking for the red pill. The red pill, if that movie, The Matrix, were correct, you took the red pill, then you went crazy for a while because you became fully conscious of all of your internal self-directed negativity and conflict. And what your parents did and what your family did and what your school did and everything, your pastor and your grandparents and all the stuff that they did and said and how you were abused and unloved and unseen and all that stuff. All those feelings would have to come up. That's the way life is. There's no escape. The way out is through. So you must face the challenge. 7, you are either advancing toward your ascension or you are retreating towards your resistance. To make it simple, you are either rebelling against what your unconscious programming is telling you have to be, or you are appeasing it. I work with clients a lot, lots of times I'll work with clients who exhibit through their programming a dysfunctional relationship. Maybe a marriage or boyfriend, girlfriend. Now, I work with them. I don't care. I don't have an agenda if they stay with their partner or their husband or their wife. I could care less. It's none of my business. But they came to me because they want me to help them achieve what they want in life. So I do. And we come to realize, well, what you want to do is you want to become a ballerina. Now, as it happens, your husband is a football coach and he wants you to help coach the football team. And so, it works against him, against his selfish desires. And you're doing what he wants because he reminds you of dad. So you're trying to get dad's love. So you do what dad wants and you're miserable inside. You want to go be a ballerina. And he feels that you're betraying him when you do that, and so he fights with you and gives you a hard time and all that, and why are you listening to that stupid thunder wizard guy, etc., etc. And so you end up having a choice. Now, it's not my choice. I could care less. Marry the guy, don't marry the guy. I want you to be happy, whatever that is. But then they come to me, and the next thing I know, they stop working with me, or they act out. They'll cancel or something. And then it becomes about they don't have the money, they don't have the time, and it's because in their mind they have to choose between me and their spouse, when in reality they're making the choice between what they want and what their spouse wants. And so as they're getting closer to what they want, their life starts to fall apart, their marriage starts to fall apart. So in order to feel more comfortable, because the fear, and I know I went through a divorce, the fear of losing that is so intense, you go back to what's been working this whole time, and you go back to your misery. But the reality is that there is going to be pain. There's going to be pain. Without no pain, no gain. There's going to be pain in life, and the question is, what kind of pain am I experiencing? There's somebody I know who's been in a really dysfunctional relationship for decades. It's not one of my apprentices, in case you're listening to me, somebody else. And this person has been trying to get out of this dysfunctional relationship for years, but every time they try, the other person throws a conniption and they can't tolerate that. They can't tolerate upsetting the other person, so they always back down every time. But they're miserable. And so one time this person was crying about how miserable they were. And I said, so being in this relationship is painful? She said, yes, it's killing me. I said, okay, I can understand that. But leaving the relationship is painful. She says, yes, I can't tolerate the fighting and I can't tolerate it. I said, so no matter what you do, you're in pain. She said, that's right. So trying to avoid leaving the relationship is going to cause you pain, right? Leaving the relationship is going to cause you pain. Yeah. So since pain is going to happen no matter what you do, you might as well go towards the pain that's going to liberate you, instead of going towards the pain that's going to appease it for the time being. But still, that person couldn't get past the thought of not being accepted by this angry, narcissistic person. And they're still there, decades later. But it's still true. So, I mean, I teach myself that. This is what I tell myself. You know, I go, well, it's going to be painful if I do that, but it's going to be worse if I don't. So I might as well go for the pain that's going to give me what I want. Because the pain of leaving, in that case, the relationship, the pain of leaving the relationship is temporary. The pain of staying in the relationship is constant. So you might as well go for the temporary pain that's going to get you ultimately what you want. So stop trying to avoid resistance. It's not going to happen. You will have resistance throughout life. And you're either going to be advancing toward your ascension or retreating into the resistance. Number 8, ascension is a life and death struggle. You know, again, I've been on this planet for a while. This is not something that I take pleasure in telling you. This is not an awareness that I take any pleasure in, but it is the truth. If you do not follow your soul desire, it may kill you. People who die of cancer, people who die of all kinds of illnesses. I want to talk about people I know who've overcome diseases that you cannot even imagine. That there is no possible way they could have overcome it. And they overcome it how? By doing in their way what I'm telling you to do right now, which is become aware of what your soul wants to do and then go do it. And as you go do it, you'll become aware of all of the feelings. You'll become aware of how you try and squish yourself in order to get other people's love and approval. It always boils down to that. It doesn't matter if you're Hitler. Why do you think Hitler did all the things he did? He was trying to be loved. In his twisted, very messed up, narcissistic mind, he believed that if he did all those things, that he would eventually find love. He would be accepted. He would find peace and happiness. He was obviously quite wrong. But that's what drives everybody. You're in relationships, you constantly keep finding men who abuse you and you don't understand why. It's because underneath it you have a survival instinct that told you that being abused is love because that's what your dad did. So you want dad's love, so you're going to find somebody who treats you like dad so you can relive that. And this time you'll get it right. This time you'll finally get dad to love you. You think your survival depends on it. This is why people get addicted to opiates. Opiates is, opiates stimulate the center in the brain of feeling loved. That's why, put it in your arm and you see the smile come over their face. It feels like love to them. And they'll die. They will die in the pursuit of that. Those of you who smoke weed all the time, guess what? That's why you do it. And it's cheating, because in order to get the love that you will ultimately need to get will be the love of your own soul. When you make your soul happy, your soul will expand around you with love. You'll feel it and you won't need anything or anybody else. You can enjoy other things and other people, but you won't need it. If you need it, it means you haven't tapped into your own soul. Everybody's trying to get to their soul. They just either have an accurate or an inaccurate method of attack. So ascension is a life and death struggle. That's why my first book, not my first book, but the book that I called it the first book, Freudian Slip, because it's the most important. And that is The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. You can also watch the videos on my channel about that. The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. Okay, so in that, we talk about that. All right, I got distracted because I let myself see the chat. I don't want to do that. So let's go back to here. Ascension is a life and death struggle, so it's one commandment. There's only one commandment, there's not 10. And the one commandment is you must. It's not like a good thing, go after your soul if you feel like it. No, you must. You must give your soul happiness or you will be punished. If you do not achieve what your soul wants, if you do not live from your soul, I guarantee you, you will have sadness, pain, loneliness, misery, physical illness, poverty, and perhaps even death. Okay, what else? The goal is fulfillment, happiness, and health. So the goal in life is not to be a good person. The goal in life is not to be a spiritual person. The goal in life is not to be a righteous person. The goal in life is not to be powerful. The goal in life is not to be popular. The goal in life is not to be invulnerable. The goal in life is happiness and fulfillment. And that's why lots of times I start videos with the question of, are you happy? Forget about what I'm about to tell you. I don't give a crap if you agree or disagree with me. No, the matrix is this. No, the planet Saturn is that. No, I could care less. That's why when I do that, I go, I'm not going to read all that garbage. I'm not interested in getting into an intellectual debate about what you think how the universe is made. I don't care. I'm only interested in one thing, and that is my happiness and my fulfillment. And I will do absolutely everything to achieve it. I will let nothing stop me. I am at war. Nothing anybody can say or do will be enough to stop me. I will die. I found that numerous times. Where like when I started surfing again, I was 49 years old. I had, as I told you, I had chronic physical pain. I had chronic debilitating tendonitis, back pain, shoulder pain, neck spasms. My knee was like this. I was overweight, out of shape. I hadn't surfed in 10 years. And I finally, I got divorced with no money. I got down to Southern California, went into a local surf shop, bought a wetsuit and a surfboard, even though I hadn't surfed in 10 years, which is, if you're a surfer, it's like you have to start all over again. I went out in the middle of winter, Manhattan Beach, El Porto, during winter time, and the waves were double overhead and the water was freezing cold. And I thought, I don't care. It might kill me, but I'm going to go surfing today. And I paddled out into that cold water and just almost drowning. And then pretty soon I had to learn how to paddle without pain in order to get past that wave. Otherwise I was going to drown. My pain was gone. All of a sudden it went. I was willing to die. I was willing to die for what I wanted. If you're willing to die for what you want, people, when they climb Mount Everest, to me, that's ridiculous. It's just a ridiculous thing. But there are people that do that. You've got to be willing to die. Even if you have all the Sherpas and all the oxygen, you have to be willing to die. You might die doing that. But if you want to climb Mount Everest, you must be willing to face that. If you want to achieve your happiness and your fulfillment, you must be willing to die to get it. And the goal is happiness, fulfillment, and health. It is not, as I said, spirituality, being righteous, being good. Christians do that. They spend their whole life carrying their cross so that they can go to heaven. That's not the goal of life. The goal of life is to achieve happiness and fulfillment now. If you're not happy now, no problem. You can be if you're willing to do the work. And if you want to escape life, having not achieved it, guess what? You're going to have to come back. The people who achieve enlightenment, who achieve moksha, liberation, are the people who finally achieve the fulfillment and happiness their soul wants to achieve on planet Earth. When you've achieved it and your soul says, yes, I've eaten and drank and fucked and watched and created and experienced and surfed everything that there is to experience on this life, and yeah, I've had it enough. I'm good. Yeah, nope, I can't think of anything else I want. Then guess what? You're done. So if you think that just giving up, oh, you're going to commit suicide, or you're going to do this, I'm going to escape the matrix. That's why when I tell people who say, I'm going to escape the matrix, I'm never coming back, I say, you're guaranteed to come back. The only people who aren't guaranteed to come back are the people who say, yeah, I'll come back. Now, I got to be honest with you, I'm not ready to say that. I would not want to go through what I went through in this life ever again. I hope I never have to do that again. Of course, I'm in the body. Maybe when I'm in my spirit will say, that was fun, let's do it again. I mean, I survived things that would kill most people. And there are things I still work through psychologically, emotionally, that would kill a lot of people. I'm just not willing to let that happen. So when you get to the point where you're like, yeah, I could do this life again, then you'll be fine. But most people, very few people I know that say that, and very few people that say that understand it and mean it. All right, so number 10, most people give up before achieving the goal. That's what I'm getting at now. So most people will give up. That's just the fact of the matter. Most people give up. Most people go back and they settle. And then they slowly die of some age-related illness, if they're lucky. If they're lucky, they slowly get arthritis, they slowly get heart disease, they slowly get cancer, they slowly get something, and then they slowly get old and die. They give up. They just settle. This is as good as it's going to get. Yeah. I refuse to live like that. It's not that I don't have those same feelings. Like again, when I had pain in my hand, I started thinking like that. I started going, well, I'm 57 and this is what happens. And then I'm like, wait a minute. That guy that I just saw at the surf shop, that guy's 68 and he surfs every fucking day. That's not fair. I refused to let that happen. And I got angry. I said, I refuse. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to give up. Everything that I want, I deserve, I'm going to have. I may not know how yet, but I'm going to have it. And I won't give up. I won't stop. I will not accept anything less than my absolute, utter, complete, orgasmic fulfillment and joy. It's okay with me if I die and I haven't got it. At least, well, I want to look back at my life and I want to have no regrets. I have some regrets right now. Like there's some places I haven't surfed yet. There were some other things I won't talk about that I had regrets about that I thought I'll never have again. And I spent a good chunk of last year doing it. And I pretty much got it out of my system. So I'm okay if I don't get that again. Maybe not okay, but I'm more okay than I was. But there are some places I want to surf, some things I want to do. And if I were to die now, I would have regrets. And I don't want that. I want to be on my deathbed looking back at my life going, yep, I did everything I wanted to do. Okay? So most people give up before achieving the goal. So there are the 10 truth steps, whatever you want to call it. I'm happy to go and answer questions. This is a question and answer. So if you have a question, ask it. If you drop a thought or an opinion, there's a good chance I'm going to psychoanalyze you. So the best way to get along with me is to ask an honest question or share an honest feeling. Okay, so people saying hello. Halo Romanova says I've changed their life. I'm so happy to hear that. Chong the Viking question, would you say then that fear would be the enemy? No. No, fear is not your enemy. Fear is helpful. When you're surfing out in the water and you see a shark swimming towards you and you're scared, that fear is helping you to get your ass into shore so that you don't get eaten. Again, it's so superficial. People throw that out all the time. Fear is the enemy. People ask me, how can I get over my fear? I said, when did I tell you were supposed to get over your fear? So no, I would not say that. The enemy is the misunderstanding of what will help you to survive. Your enemy is your misunderstanding of what you need in order to survive. Remember what I said earlier, which I wish I had written down on the list. is that your actions will always be based on either your correct or incorrect assumptions about what you need in order to survive. This whole process of consciousness is to become conscious of what your assumptions are. Your feelings will tell you what your assumptions are. It's not just about having your feelings. Your feelings are the roadmap. So that's why I tell you, you must have all of your thoughts, all of your feelings, all of your impulses, but you must take action that is beneficial towards you and others. In order to take conscious action, you have to know what is actually beneficial for your survival. As I said, my parents taught me that I was supposed to be, not successful and poor. If I did that, then I wouldn't threaten my dad's ego, and I wouldn't make my mom afraid that I was going to abandon her. That was her thing. She was afraid that us kids were going to abandon her, which we ended up doing because she was so destructive. She ended up dying alone. She ended up creating the exact thing she was trying to avoid with all of her codependence and, narcissistic smothering. My dad was brilliant, a brilliant physicist. To this day, they're still trying to figure out his equations. He was absolutely essential to the space race. Going to the moon and all that stuff, my dad was part of that. He was, at one point, maybe still true, there was a point in time where he had designed more satellites than any one man in the world. They're still flying around above us. They're in the Smithsonian, even though his name's not attached to it. And he was so insecure that if I got an A on my spelling bee, it threatened his ego. So in order to get his love, I had to be smart, but I couldn't be too successful. That's an inaccurate assumption about what will give me survival. Now, when my soul, which knows better, says to go live in that perfect house on the beach, and my human ego says, I can't, Dad will be upset with me, then I end up with pain in my hand. Do you see it? Do you see the connection? Once I become conscious and I go, oh, holy crap, I'm denying myself what my soul wants out of an incorrect belief that I have to protect my dad on an unconscious level. He's dead. He could care less. You get it? The enemy is the inaccurate assumption of what you need in order to survive. No, your fear is here to help you. If you have an accurate understanding that a gravity will pull you to your death if you step off the cliff, then your fear, which kicks in, which mine does, if I get too close to the edge, my sphincter I'm afraid. That fear is helping me. But it's so superficial. It makes for a great movie. Fear is the little death. No, it's not. If you have fear from an inaccurate understanding of reality, then that fear is working against you. But when you become aware that sitting in the chair is not going to end up killing you, then if somebody has an irrational fear of chairs, then they need to learn to get over their fear and just learn to sit in chairs. But if chairs actually turn into giant monsters that eat you alive, then their fear means something. So the whole idea of becoming conscious is becoming aware of what your assumptions about what you need to survive are. Okay, what else? Ed the Wave, question. What if there are so many things you want to do in life, you're afraid you won't be able to do them all in your life? That's nonsense. Ed the Wave, you don't believe that. You're saying you're so overwhelmed with all the things that you want to do, so you don't do any of them? Does that make sense? There are so many things I want to do, I'm just going to not do anything. That is your survival instinct. Your survival instinct is, I'm going to do nothing. That way I'll be loved. If you understand that everything is about the first instinct for survival is the need to be loved and accepted. That's the first thing human beings need. Um, Crocodiles and sharks don't need that. When crocodiles come out of the egg, they're ready. They don't need mom to hug them and breastfeed them. They're ready to go. Same thing with sharks. The moment they come out of the egg, they're ready to go. They just got to get away from the other sharks that might want to eat them. They're brothers and sisters, and they go and find some little amoeba to eat, and then they're good to go. You're not. You were born with the first need was to be loved, held, accepted into the tribe, into the family unit. And so you learned somewhere at the wave as a kid that if you went after the things that you want, you're not going to be loved. So you came up with the solution. I won't do anything. I won't go after anything that I want because, and so yeah, they start to build up. I don't believe that there's so many things. First, that tells me you don't know what your soul desire is. Look, I'm obsessed with surfboards. I mean, it's a toxic obsession. I won't lie to you. I will spend hours on the internet looking at different surfboards. I will spend hours, days driving to surf shops and touching surfboards for hours. The salesman gets so fed up with me because I don't buy anything. They think, they try and help me, and I'm like, no, trust me, I'm just here to look. And I will look at all of them for hours. I'll pick them up and look at them and sniff them. And, I'm obsessed with it because I can't make a decision. I already have, how many do I have? I've got like 6. I'm trying to sell a couple because I'm always, I'll buy one and then I'll end up not using it for whatever reason. So, I understand that, but it's that's just part of my obsessive nature. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. As long as the surfboard has enough of what I need to get me out and to catch waves, I could care less. As long as I'm standing on top of something on a wave, I'm happy as hell. So it tells me you don't know what you want. And that tells me that you're in conflict, that you're avoiding what your soul wants out of misunderstood desire to please others. So, like the secret, the law of attraction. A lot of people get into those law of attraction groups. And they'll do things like, make vision boards. But by the way, there's nothing wrong with a vision board. I have nothing against it. But if you don't know what you want, you don't know what you're putting on that vision board. So people will put a giant house, a giant, 10-foot, 20-room mansion. They'll put a Rolls Royce. They'll put, some supermodel, and maybe they'll have 5 kids in there, and they'll put that on their vision board, and then their vision never happens. They never accomplish it. And that's because that's not what their soul wants. That's what they think they're supposed to want. They think that will make them happy. So I don't think you know what you want, Ed the Wave, because if you knew what you want, you wouldn't be confused. You wouldn't be confused about all the things you want to do in life. You would know, I want to climb Mount Everest. Well, why Mount Everest? There's a billion other mountains. Oh, I want to climb Mount Everest. So you're saying, I don't know, how many mountains can I climb? So you don't know what you want. And if I were to work with you, if I had an hour with you, I'm fairly certain that by the end of that hour, I would know what it is you really wanted, and I would know who in your family you're trying to please. So you're going to have to do some work to figure that out. Creative Virgo 12 question, am I woke? Just kidding. That's not a question. Look, Creative Virgo, if you have a question, please, I appreciate the cute little gesture, but if you have a question, ask me a question. Don't waste everybody's time with that. All right, Kevin Kahn, question. Is there more information you can give me into overcoming the karma? What do you mean? What do you mean, is there more information? What do you mean? Your karma is whatever stands between you and what your soul wants. You don't need any more information than that. When you figure out what your soul wants and you go after it, you will become conscious. Maybe you'll become aware that in a past life you killed some people. Maybe in a past life you'll realize something. You'll overcome your karma. Action. So there's dharma and there's karma. There's orlog and there's weird. Dharma is your soul desire, what your soul came here to do. People think dharma is doing good works. Oh, I came here to feed the poor, that's my dharma. No, that's your karma. If you are here and you're feeding the poor, you're burning off karma. That's something else. Dharma is, if I don't go surfing 2-3 times a week, I'm miserable. I'm the happiest when I'm in the ocean. Yesterday, the waves were too small, and plus I had gone surfing the day before, so I have to give my body a rest. But the weather was unbelievable. It was just so perfect. And I went to my favorite beach and I walked through the rainforest, because here you have to walk through paths in the rainforest to get to the oceans. It's unbelievable. I'm walking through the rainforest and I get to the ocean and it's just empty, and there's no wind and there's these tiny waves, and I went out swimming and I got so happy I literally started jumping up and down like a little kid. I started like a dolphin, just jumping up into the water. I mean, if you had watched me, you would have thought I was having a seizure. But I was just having so much fun, because I'm living my dream. I'm living my ultimate dream. And so that's me following my dharma. That moment yesterday was the most spiritual thing I could do for myself and for the rest of the world. There was nothing more profound or helpful that I could do for anything, any consciousness in the entire universe than what I did. That's my dharma. My karma is what I'm doing right now. There must be some karma that I have to pay off in order to be. Being a teacher is I'm burning off my karma. I don't know exactly what it is. I know that there was a lifetime where I caused a lot of damage. I can remember it. So maybe I'm some of you who say, thank you, Mahadeva, you saved my life. Well, maybe I ended your life in a previous life. Maybe the reason why I say something ridiculous and it hits you in such a way that it totally transforms your life, maybe it's because I owe you a debt. So I'm paying off my karma. So I don't know what more you want to know about karma. Karma, it's not that big of a deal. It's just the resistance between you and your soul. Don't make it into more than it is. People turn karma into, karma has become like sin, and it's not. Sin doesn't exist. There is no such thing. Self-imposed negativity. S-I-N. All right, what else? Film sample. And again, I can tell if you guys haven't done the work. Maybe you're new to the channel. Welcome to the channel. But if you do the work, you start asking different questions. Those general questions, I can tell you're either new to the channel and or you haven't done the work. What is doing the work? Go to thunderwizard.com and click on the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. Subscribe to that. You want to get real serious? Go get this, the maoshan.thunderwizard.com. You don't want to do that? Go on to my channel and follow, do one of the Qigong routines for 40 days. Do the work. We live in a physical universe. You must physically experience the universe and work through it. You must take action in order to change yourself. All right, so Film Sample CG. What if this journey to my soul desire requires me to leave my best friends? What do you mean, what if? What do you want me to do? I don't know. I don't know how to help you with that. I have no way of knowing that, if that's true or not. But if what you're saying is true and your soul desire means you have to leave your best friends, then you got to leave your best friends. I don't know what else to tell you. I will return to my home country couples of months later, and I imagine myself hugging them while crying. I'm okay. I love them so much I don't want to require. I'm not telling you to leave your friends. I don't know. You're not asking me, what you're not asking me is about your soul desire. So how can I possibly know? What do you mean, what if? What do you want me to say to you? What I know is that going after your soul desire will be the thing you want most in the world. The thing that will give you the greatest happiness will be your soul desire. You may have to give some things up, but I mean, the universe isn't cruel like that. If they really are your best friends and they are part of your life and they make you happy and they, empower you, then I don't know that it has to be a either or choice. But again, you haven't told me what your soul desire is, so how can I answer that question for you? Ed the Wave. He says, as a child, I wanted to be basically a polymath, someone who was really smart and knowledgeable in a lot of different subjects like Leonardo da Vinci. So what does that have to do with what you said earlier? Those are two different things. You said in your previous question, without using these words, you said, I get so overwhelmed I don't do anything. That's different from being Leonardo da Vinci, who did everything. So wanting to be a polymath could have nothing to do with your soul desire. You may have gotten, for instance, my dad was a physicist. So what if I had gotten the idea that if I had become a physicist, my dad would love me? I'm smart. I'm not the greatest, I'm not great at math, but when I did math, when I applied myself, I was really good at it. It wasn't something I really loved doing. I would have much rather, wrote or acted or played music or something. But when I got into higher math stuff, which of course I've all forgotten, it was really interesting and fun, and I was good at it. I'm the kind of person that if I choose to do something, I can usually be the best at it if I choose to. So if I could easily have mistaken a soul desire for wanting my dad's approval, I might have wanted to compete with him, become better than him. A lot of people do this. So you say that's as a kid, but I don't know that that's your soul desire. Maybe it is, but it could be that this is what you want to do in order to get your parents' approval. You thought being smart and being Leonardo da Vinci would get your parents' love, in which case, instead of being really excited and, okay, today I'm going to master music, tomorrow I'm going to master painting, and the next day I'm going to become an architect, and then I'm going to do this, and I have so many things I'm into. In fact, I just created this yesterday, and then the other day I did this other thing, which is Leonardo da Vinci. I want to do so many things, I just can't decide. That's me in the surf shop. Just pick one and go surfing. It's usually because the waves are bad or something, that I can't go surfing that day or that week. Sometimes the weather system will come in and the waves will just be horrible for a week, or there'll be no waves for a week. So I spend that whole week in surf shops or online looking at surfboards. It just drives me crazy. I'm not living my soul desire. My soul desire is not to look at a bunch of different surfboards. So I don't know, Ed the Wave. I've known people who do this. They will tell me, they will convince me that what they want is to be, and they'll say whatever the hell it is. And we'll find out later that that was all about fulfilling mom or dad's fantasy for them, or about their desire to get mom or dad's love. I don't know what it is, but my feeling based on what you've said is that that's not your soul desire. If it is your soul desire, then the question is, why aren't you Leonardo da Vinci? Lushka, if you have a question, write the word question. You see Eddie below you. The question is in all caps. That way I can see it. There's a lot of comments. I'll miss it. I don't want to miss your question. Lushka says, what are the differences on your Mao Shan course compared to the Manifestation Mastery course? First off, why are you asking the difference? They're two completely different things. The differences are huge. They're not the same thing. The Mao Shan course is what I've already talked about. You're tapping into the Shin, the lightning power that surrounds the soul, and you're releasing that into your body and into your mind and into the universe. And you can use it to accomplish your soul desire. You can accomplish it to manifest. The Manifestation Mastery course is pretty much what we're talking about right now. This whole video could go into that course. So they're two completely different things. Ed agrees with me. He doesn't know what his soul desire is. Yeah, so you're not going to know what your soul desire is as long as you're trying to please other people. So Ed the Wave, go to this website, career.thunderwizard.com. Go and get that video course. If that doesn't give you what you want, then scroll to the bottom of that page and click for a consultation, and I will help you figure it out. Eddie, again, I understand it, but it's frustrating. There are people who have been on my channel for a really long time, and all they do is come and watch. I don't know if Ed the Wave is one of them. Maybe he's not. But there are people that just come and watch me talk, and they don't do any of the work. And it's frustrating because I can tell, and it's frustrating because I want you guys to be happy. I want to give you the tools so you can go be happy. And it's hard to have compassion for people who don't do the work. Ed the Wave, that might not be you. You just got me thinking about that. Eddie 5241 question. What are some visualization or meditations to know the soul desire? Eddie 5241, welcome to the channel. First off, ask me questions about things I teach. I've never taught that before, but that's an assumption. I teach how to know your soul desire. Your assumption is that you'll be able to visualize it or meditate on it. Maybe you will. I don't teach that. So ask me about what I teach. Instead, write, what are some things I can do to know my soul desire? I've already given the website out. But I have a fourfold process that I take you through. It's questions that you ask yourself. And if you follow that process, you'll know what your soul desire is. Okay, what else? Baba Junzo, question. So if your soul incarnates for fun, I think I already know where this question is going. Before I even look at this question, let me see if I can guess what it is. Before I even look at this question, your soul desire will always be something that is empowering to the entire universe. The joy of your soul desire is not the same as the fun of being distracted. Video games, slamming heroin, gambling in Vegas, a week with hookers, whatever it is, those things might be distracting and they might be fun, but they're not your soul desire. Your soul desire will always be something that gives you joy, and when you do it, is helpful to everybody else. All right, now let's see if I got this question right. So if your soul incarnates for fun, what could it mean if one finds pain to be fun? Nobody finds pain to be fun. That means you have psychological problems. What that means is that you have been abused. And this is what happens when you're a little kid, especially when you're an infant. When you experience pain, and if there is pain and reward associated. In other words, if your narcissistic parent, slaps you across the face and then rewards you with a candy because he feels guilty, then you make the connection that love is pain. Abuse is love. So if you think pain is fun, it means you've been abused. And it means that you have associated reward with fun. I'm not talking about the kind of pain you go to the gym and you're lifting and the pain of as you're trying to push that thing up because you know you're going to get bigger muscles. If that's what you're talking about, that's something different. But if you're talking about sadomasochism, that kind of stuff, it means you've got some unresolved issues where you've been abused and you are associating abuse with love or abuse with something positive. And it comes from codependence. Codependence, if you don't know what, people get all bent out of shape. Codependence means that your worth comes from what you do, not from who you are. and people who are abused or codependent, and they believe that if they're punished, they're good. I'm a good person because I'm being punished. And so they'll find ways to punish themselves or get punished or, get hurt, and it makes them feel like they're loved. So, without knowing the specifics, you haven't told me what it is, that's my first response. And he says, okay, I do not, but I see it's becoming hot in the modern left-hand community and wanted to know if that's normal. What does that have to do with what I'm teaching? What does that have to do with me? I mean, I don't know anything about the modern left-hand community. The modern left-hand community, I would say, doesn't have anything to do with what we do here. What I teach is an actual left-hand path. An actual left-hand path. That kind of stuff is nonsense. Dressing up and doing crazy, all those rituals, nonsense. It's a waste of time. So, anyway, what else? Fim Sample G says, I don't know my soul desire, but I want to know that so much, but I just got scared from the thought of me leaving my friends. So I don't know the psychological connection in your brain, but the fact that you have fear there is normal. And it means that when you got afraid, it means that there's something about you're afraid if you do what it is you really want, you will abandon or be abandoned by people that love you. That's really what that's all about. And so that's an inaccurate assumption. The truth is if you do what your soul wants, you will have the perfect and best love that you could want. Okay? Baba Junzo, why did he retract the message? I don't know what that was, the question. I don't see any more questions here. So, you know the deal. If you don't ask a question, I got to entertain you. So, if you want to, I've already given you the link. If you want to go learn how to find your soul desire, I've given you the link to go do that. If you want to see everything, all of my video courses, all of my services, astrology, rune readings, all of the everything, go to courses.thunderwizard.com. You can see everything that I have available. Right now, what I am working on and focused on is the Lightning Qigong. So go to thunderwizard.com and look for Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong and sign up, subscribe to that. If you want to wait, you can. We're in the second half of the month because it recharges, it just automatically charges you every month. So if you want to wait till the first, you can. But that's really where we're going with this. When you sign up for the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, you will have access to everything else. So there is the Manifestation Mastery course, and then there is the Shamanism Mastery course. You'll have access to all those hundreds, if not thousands of hours of videos on there. But it's really getting you into action. And all you have to do is just click play, and you follow the video of me taking you through the 90-day thing. Just do that on a daily basis. And for those of you that are really interested in mastering this left-hand path, that is going to be taught at the thunderwizard.com, the Warrior 90-Day. That's going to turn into the Maoshan University, where I'm going to start teaching you everything that I've learned and all of the secrets. I've been keeping them secret, but now I'm going to start revealing all of them. And then if you want the elite, really most powerful stuff there is, go to maoshan.thunderwizard.com. Hurry up because I'm about to put up the metal, and every time I put up a new element, the discount starts going down, meaning the price is going to go up. So there you go. I think I've done all of the commercials I need to do. I don't see any other questions, so I'm prepared to leave this right where it is for now. So take care of yourself, and yeah, I will see you guys when I see you next. Take care.